Stop waiting, start becoming. Most people wait. They wait for a new month, a better job, the perfect partner, or the ideal moment to change. But here's the truth, no one tells you waiting is a silent form of surrender. And the longer you wait, the further you drift from the person you were meant to become. You don't need better circumstances. You need a stronger mindset. You don't need more time. You need more intention. This isn't about motivation or quick hacks. It's about rebuilding your life from the inside out using ancient Stoic principles that have stood the test of time. If you feel stuck, overwhelmed, or like you're capable of more but can't seem to move forward, this is your wake-up call. This is the reminder you've been avoiding, the quiet but powerful pushback to yourself. The Stoic path doesn't begin with grand gestures. It begins with ownership, with quiet, daily, intentional work. So if you're ready to stop waiting and start transforming, stay with me. Your inner work begins now. 1. You are your greatest project. You are not a task to complete. You are a lifelong masterpiece in progress. Yet how often do we forget this? How often do we rush through our days trying to fix everything around us? Our relationships, our schedules, our circumstances, while ignoring the one thing that holds it all together, ourselves. Your mind, your habits, and your beliefs form the foundation of your life. If that part of you is weak, scattered, or neglected, then everything you build on top of it, your goals, your reputation will eventually crack. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius didn't write meditations for the world. He wrote it for himself. They were personal reminders, daily tools to shape his thoughts and strengthen his character. Why? Because even an emperor knew that self-mastery was the hardest and most essential battle of all. You are your greatest project because everything in your life is filtered through your perception, your decisions, and your character. Change those, and the world around you begins to change too. But let's be honest, working on yourself doesn't feel glamorous. No one claps when you choose discipline over comfort. No one sees the mental battles you win in silence. And that's exactly why they matter. The deepest kind of growth is invisible. It happens when you choose to speak calmly instead of exploding, when you resist the temptation to lie for comfort, and when you do the hard thing instead of the easy one. These quiet decisions won't go viral. They won't earn applause. But they are the bricks of a powerful life. Too often we search for change in the wrong places. We switch jobs, move cities, seek out new people, or start over. Sometimes that's necessary. But if you keep changing your environment while staying the same on the inside, you're not evolving, you're escaping. You'll carry the same anxiety, the same impatience, and the same lack of discipline with you wherever you go. Real transformation doesn't come from escape. It comes from confrontation with yourself. Ask yourself, what are you building? Not in your career, not on social media, not in the eyes of others. What are you building in your mind? Your discipline, and your ability to stay calm when things go wrong. The storms of life aren't optional, but who you become during them, that is. The Stoics didn't aim for perfect lives. They aimed for prepared minds. Minds that could endure, adapt, and grow stronger in any situation. Every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. And that includes the small ones, waking up early when you don't want to, finishing a task with care, keeping a promise to yourself. These aren't just habits, they are declarations. You're saying, I'm not waiting to be fixed, I'm building myself now. Let's be clear, this isn't about perfection. It's not about creating a flawless version of yourself. It's about committing to the work. It's about showing up every day even when no one sees it, even when progress feels slow. Because building yourself takes time. It's not a sprint. It's a craft, a discipline, a lifestyle. So don't wait for a moment of clarity. Create it. Don't wait for motivation. Build systems. Don't wait for someone else to inspire you. Inspire yourself through action, through quiet consistency, through the awareness that even when the results are invisible, you are still becoming something stronger. You are not passive clay. You are the sculptor. Every thought, every choice, every challenge, they're all part of your design. If you truly believe you are your greatest project, then treat yourself like it. Prioritize your mental clarity. Learn from your mistakes without shame. Be kind, but not soft. And most of all, stay in motion. Because there is no final version of you, only the next version. You are your greatest project. and every day is another chance to build something remarkable. 2. No one is coming to save you. This is a hard truth, but it's one you need to hear. Deep down, many people still cling to the quiet hope that someone or something will come along and fix everything. Maybe it's a mentor, maybe a romantic partner, maybe a lucky break or some dramatic life event that will rewrite your story. But that kind of hope becomes a trap. The more you wait to be rescued, the less responsibility you take. And without responsibility, there is no power. Only delay, only the slow erosion of your potential. Stoicism strips away the illusion of rescue. It forces you to meet life as it is, not as you wish it to be. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Don't waste time waiting for a good life. Build it." That isn't a motivational slogan. It's a command, a call to action. Time doesn't pause for indecision. And no one, not even the people who love you, can live your life for you. At some point, you must stop outsourcing your effort, your choices, and your future. You have to step into the uncomfortable truth that the work is yours alone. That doesn't mean you must do everything by yourself, but it does mean that you must initiate the process. People can walk beside you. They can support and encourage you, but they cannot carry you. They cannot make you care. They cannot force you to get out of bed, stay disciplined, or break the cycle you've been stuck in. That part will always be yours. And yes, the weight of that truth can feel overwhelming. But if you sit with it long enough, something else starts to emerge: freedom. Because if no one is coming to save you, then you don't have to wait anymore. You're free to begin right now, no permission needed, no ideal conditions required. When you truly accept that your posture changes, you stop blaming and you start building. Stop waiting for rescue, build yourself from the inside out. Stop fantasizing. Stop hoping someone else will fill the void. Begin right where you are with what you have and take ownership of your direction. That shift, though subtle, is incredibly powerful. It moves you from living in reaction to living in creation. The Stoic does not ask, "Why is this happening to me?" but instead asks, "What will I do with this?" That mindset turns every obstacle into an opportunity to build strength and character. If you're struggling right now, don't romanticize rescue. Strategize your rise. Break your problems into parts. Ask better questions. What can I do today to reduce the chaos in my life? What habits are keeping me stuck? What conversations am I avoiding? The moment you start asking these questions, you're already reclaiming your power. Because power isn't loud, it's quiet. It's the steady confidence that comes when you stop waiting and start moving. There will be times when life feels unfair. You'll do everything right and still the results won't show up. That's part of the process. The Stoics never promised ease. They promised meaning. They believed hardship wasn't a punishment, but a forge, a fire that tempers the mind and body. And the tougher the conditions, the stronger the person who endures them. So don't waste your life waiting for the world to change. Change your posture within the world. Don't wait for someone to unlock the door. Build your own key. Yes, it's harder. Yes, it takes longer. And no, it isn't glamorous, but it's real. It's earned. And most importantly, it's yours. The truth is simple: no one is coming to save you. But the moment you stop needing rescue, you realize something much greater. You were built to rise, to rebuild, to redirect. The power is already in you. It always was. 3. Discipline is the foundation of freedom. Most people think freedom means doing whatever you want whenever you want. Sleeping in, skipping the gym, giving in to every impulse and calling it living your truth. But that version of freedom is a trap. It feels good temporarily, but it builds a life filled with chaos, regret, and wasted potential. Without structure, we don't grow, we drift. And the Stoics knew this better than anyone. To them, freedom wasn't about escaping responsibility. It was about mastering it. Not controlling others, but learning to control yourself, your reactions, your desires, your habits. True power, the kind that lasts, doesn't come from comfort. It comes from discipline. Not the harsh, punishing discipline that breaks you down, but the quiet, respectful discipline that builds you up. The kind that shows up every day, especially when it's inconvenient. Discipline is not punishment. It's self-respect. It's the way you prove to yourself that your long-term vision matters more than your short-term feelings. Feelings shift, motivation fades, But discipline, when practiced consistently, becomes identity. Think about it. Every time you choose discipline, you send yourself a signal: I can trust me. That self-trust builds confidence. Confidence builds momentum. And with momentum, you stop needing motivation to act. You just act because it's who you are now. You no longer negotiate with yourself every morning. You don't have to hype yourself up. You simply do the work, not because you're forcing it, but because it's now a natural part of you. The Stoic doesn't chase motivation. He builds systems. He understands that the path to greatness isn't paved with dramatic moments, but with ordinary actions repeated daily. Waking up early, moving your body, showing up for your responsibilities, sticking to your plan. These habits aren't glamorous, but they are transformative. They sharpen your mind, steady your emotions, and expand your capacity. Most importantly, they offer a kind of freedom no one can take from you, the freedom to trust yourself even in chaos. When life gets hard, we often admire people who stay calm under pressure. We envy their clarity, their focus. But what we're really admiring is their discipline. Discipline in thought, in emotion, and in behavior. They've trained their inner world to remain stable no matter how turbulent the outside world becomes. That is the kind of strength Stoicism offers. Not the strength to dominate others, but the strength to govern yourself. Yes, discipline is hard, especially at first. It feels restrictive. You'll miss comfort. You'll crave ease. But if you keep going, something amazing happens. What once felt like sacrifice begins to feel like liberation. Why? Because now you don't depend on fleeting motivation. You don't collapse when life gets unpredictable. You don't let your cravings control your path. You become grounded, stable, reliable, first to yourself and then to others. So ask yourself, do you want true freedom or just temporary relief? They are not the same. Relief is a quick fix. Freedom is earned. Relief numbs your discomfort. Freedom teaches you to face it. Relief is fleeting. Freedom is lasting. And the bridge between where you are and where you want to be is called discipline. That's why Stoicism isn't about denial. It's about alignment. Aligning your actions with your values, your habits with your goals, your days with your vision. Once you start doing that, discipline stops feeling like a burden. It becomes a gift, because there's no greater freedom than knowing you are no longer ruled by weakness. 4. Start small but stay consistent. We often overestimate what we can do in a week and underestimate what we can do in a year. That's where most people fall short. They try to change everything overnight. Wake up at 5 a.m., work out for 2 hours, meditate, journal, quit sugar, read 5 books, and by the 3rd day, they're exhausted and discouraged. But the Stoic path is different. It's not built on intensity. It's built on consistency. It's about building slowly, steadily, and letting time do the heavy lifting. The Stoics never talked about overnight transformation. They spoke about daily practice. As Zeno said, well-being is realized by small steps, but it is no small thing. Small steps, when repeated with consistency, create momentum. And momentum shapes identity. You don't become disciplined by reading about it. You become disciplined by acting one choice at a time. One small action repeated again and again. Start small. Maybe it's waking up 15 minutes earlier. Maybe it's choosing water over soda. Maybe it's leaving your phone in another room for an hour. These may seem minor, but they're not. They're proof. Proof that you're not just dreaming about change, you're creating it. And the more often you act in alignment with the person you want to become, the more natural those actions feel. Eventually, you're not forcing discipline. You're flowing with it. But consistency is key. Without it, effort fades. How many times have you started something strong only to abandon it when life got hectic? That's why starting small is so powerful. It keeps the habit light enough to carry even during chaos. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need huge motivation. You need a system simple enough that you can't talk yourself out of it. And when life inevitably gets messy, as it always does, you don't throw the whole system away. You adjust. You simplify. But you keep showing up. Conclusion. You don't need more time. You don't need a rescue. You need a plan. You need ownership. You need discipline, consistency, and self-respect. Stop waiting for someone to save you. Build yourself from the inside out. Because once you take full responsibility, everything changes. You are no longer waiting, you are building, becoming, rising, and that is where real freedom begins. Resilience, progress, and inner power, the Stoic's path to self-mastery. When life breaks your rhythm, when setbacks knock you down, the Stoic returns to one thing: effort. You reset, you come back to the basics. One of the most powerful traits in Stoic philosophy is resilience, the ability to recommit again and again without ego and without drama. The Stoic doesn't chase perfect streaks. He builds habits that survive imperfection. That's what truly matters. Let's be clear. Consistency is not about rigidity, it's about rhythm. It's not about punishing yourself for missing a day. It's about refusing to miss two. It's about showing up on the bad days, even if you can only give 40%. Because showing up at 40% still matters. It still reinforces your identity. It still says, I'm the kind of person who does the work even when I don't feel like it. And here's the most important part: you must learn to trust the process before the results show up. That's where most people give up. They do the right things, but the changes aren't immediate, so they assume it's not working. But consistency works in silence. Your life might not transform in a week, but your mindset will begin to shift. And once your mindset changes, everything else follows. So be patient, stay humble, start with one thing, one commitment, one non-negotiable action that you repeat every day, no matter what. Over time, that one habit becomes your anchor. Then you add another and another until discipline is no longer something you do, it's who you are. Start small, but stay consistent. That's how the Stoic builds strength quietly, daily, and relentlessly. 5. Seek progress, not perfection. Perfection is a mirage. It moves every time you get closer. And yet so many of us chase it anyway. We convince ourselves that we're not good enough until we have the perfect body, the perfect routine, the perfect mindset, the perfect life. But here's the truth: that mindset doesn't lead to excellence, it leads to paralysis. Because if you can't be perfect, why try at all? You hesitate, you overthink, you delay your growth, waiting for the perfect time, the perfect version of yourself. And while you wait, life quietly passes by. The Stoics rejected this illusion. They didn't aim for flawlessness. They aimed for improvement. They cared about becoming better day by day, thought by thought. They understood that the goal isn't to become someone without weakness. The goal is to become someone who keeps growing despite weakness. Progress is messy. It's imperfect. It includes failure, confusion, and setbacks. But it moves forward. And that forward motion is what separates those who grow from those who stay stuck. Not talent, not intelligence, but willingness. Willingness to try. Willingness to fail. Willingness to learn and to repeat that process for as long as it takes. Seneca once wrote, "While we teach, we learn." Even the wise are still students. You never fully arrive. You simply evolve. So stop punishing yourself for not being who you think you should be. That version of you doesn't even exist. Focus instead on who you're becoming. What did you do better today than yesterday? Where did you respond with more patience? Where did you catch yourself slipping and choose to correct your course? That's progress, and it's worth far more than perfection. Let's be honest, the perfectionist inside you won't go quietly. It will whisper that your effort isn't enough, that your mistakes make you a fraud, and that if you don't do it exactly right, it doesn't count. When that voice shows up, challenge it. Remind yourself, I don't need to be perfect. I need to be committed. There is a massive difference. Perfection leads to self-doubt. Commitment leads to growth. Think about a sculptor. They don't create a masterpiece with a single swing of the chisel. They shape it slowly, adjusting, refining, stepping back, and trying again. That's how you shape yourself. Some days you'll cut too deep. Some days you'll barely make progress. But as long as you return to the work, you are becoming something stronger. There's another danger in perfectionism: comparison. You look at others, their discipline, their curated success, and you feel behind. But you're not behind. You're on your own path, your own timeline, your own set of lessons. The Stoic path is not a race, it is a practice, and it's not about how fast you move. It's about how intentionally you move. Are you learning from your experience? Are you becoming wiser through effort? Then you are winning. If you're honest with yourself, you'll see that perfectionism is often just fear in disguise. Fear of being judged, fear of failure, fear of not measuring up. But courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the refusal to let fear lead. The Stoic chooses progress because progress respects life as it is imperfect, unpredictable, but full of potential. So today, aim to grow, not to impress, not to perform, just to improve, even by 1 inch. Let go of needing to get everything right. Focus instead on getting something right. Perfection will lie to you, but progress will change your life. Because one imperfect step forward is always better than standing still in fear. 6. Detach from results. Focus on effort. We live in a world obsessed with outcomes, likes numbers, rewards results. These have become the measuring sticks for everything we do. And when those results don't appear immediately, it's easy to question your worth, to think your effort doesn't matter. But the Stoic sees through that illusion. He understands that real strength isn't measured by what you get, but by how you show up regardless of what you get. This mindset isn't easy to develop. It goes against everything we've been taught. We've been told that success proves value, that reward equals worth, and that results are everything. But here is the Stoic truth: you are not your outcomes. You are your effort, your focus, your discipline. You are how you carry yourself when the path is unclear. You are how you respond when no one is watching. That's where your character is forged, not in the trophies, but in the trenches. Think about the farmer. He doesn't plant a seed and expect fruit the next morning. He prepares the soil. He waters it. He waits. He trusts. The result may come later, sometimes much later, but the care is constant. The effort is non-negotiable. That's how inner growth works too. You can't force your progress to appear on a schedule. You can only keep showing up, even when it feels like nothing is changing. Here's the paradox. The more you focus on effort over outcome, the better your results actually become. Why, Mo? Because you're not distracted by metrics. You're not constantly measuring or comparing. You're fully present in the work, and that presence sharpens your performance. You become more focused, more creative, and more resilient because your worth is no longer tied to whether or not you win. It's tied to whether or not you gave your best. This is what Epictetus meant when he said, some things are up to us and some things are not. You can't control outcomes. You can't control how others react, how quickly success arrives, or how the world rewards your effort. But you can control your attitude. You can control your discipline. And that is where your power lives. Now, detachment doesn't mean apathy. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care deeply, but about the right things. Your growth, your virtue, your effort. You let go of the obsession with praise, validation, or fast results. And that doesn't make you weak. It makes you unshakable. When your peace depends on external rewards, you are a hostage to circumstances. But when your peace is grounded in effort, you are free. So if the results you hoped for haven't shown up, pause. And remember, just because you can't see the harvest yet doesn't mean the seed isn't growing. Stay focused on the work, trust the process, and keep showing up. Because who you become while you wait is far more important than what you're waiting for. Shape your mind, not just your circumstances. A Stoic path to inner strength. Take a moment to reflect not on what you've gained, but on how you've grown. Are you more focused than you were 6 months ago? Are you more resilient, more honest with yourself? If so, then you're evolving. And that evolution matters more than any visible achievement. The results will come. Maybe not in the form you expected, but in the form you need. Detach from outcomes. Reattach to your purpose, to your daily actions, to the quiet discipline of effort. Because in the end, the process is not just how you reach the reward. The process is the reward. It's the space where you become stronger, sharper, more grounded. Focus on the effort and let the rest unfold in its time. 7. Silence your inner critic with reason. There's a voice inside your head, and sometimes it's not on your side. It doubts you when you try. It mocks you when you fail. It whispers that you're not good enough, not smart enough, not disciplined enough to change. This inner critic doesn't yell. It slowly erodes your confidence, one subtle judgment at a time. But here's what the Stoics understood. The most dangerous enemies are not external, they're internal. And one of the most powerful skills you can develop is learning how to challenge that voice with reason. Epictetus said, "It's not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them." That includes the judgments we place on ourselves. You miss a deadline and the voice says, "See, you're lazy." You feel anxious and it hisses, "You're weak." But these thoughts are not facts. They're interpretations, automatic, unexamined, and often untrue. The Stoic doesn't blindly believe every thought. He examines them. He pauses and asks, "Is this true? Is this useful? Is this helping me grow?" If the answer is no, he lets it go. Most people allow their minds to run unchecked. Stoicism, however, is a kind of mental discipline. It teaches you to hold every thought up to the light and ask, is this rational or is it fear wearing the mask of truth? Because not every thought deserves your belief. Not every emotion deserves your surrender. And certainly not every self-judgment reflects your reality. Your inner critic often speaks in extremes. You always mess up. You never follow through. But reason reveals the nuance. Maybe you made a mistake today, but not every day. Maybe this week was hard, but you're still here, still trying. That's the power of reason. It doesn't erase your mistakes, but it puts them into context. It reminds you that failure is feedback, not identity. This isn't about delusion. It's not about pretending everything is fine. It's about learning to respond instead of react. When the inner voice says you're falling behind, ask, compared to who? Compared to what? When it says you're not making progress, ask, how am I defining progress? Am I expecting perfection instead of effort? When it says you'll never change, ask, is that really true or just familiar? Over time, reason becomes your ally. You stop being bullied by your thoughts. You stop believing every negative whisper, and something powerful happens. Your mind becomes quieter. Not because the doubts disappear, but because they lose their control over you. You start listening with discernment. You assess. You decide what stays and what goes. One of the most overlooked forms of self-respect is learning how to speak to yourself. Not with ego, not with false praise, but with clarity, compassion, and truth. Because your inner critic feeds on shame and silence, but it dies in the light of awareness. When you replace harshness with honesty, you don't just build confidence, you build trust. Trust in your ability to learn, to adapt, to grow. So the next time your mind turns against you, don't respond with anger. Don't drown it in noise. Sit with it. Listen. Then answer not with fear, but with reason. Your thoughts don't define you. Your response to them does. 8. Shape your mind before shaping your world. It's tempting to think that if we could just fix what's around us, everything inside us would fall into place. A better job, a new city, more money, different people, then finally peace would come. But the Stoics saw the truth clearly. Your world is not defined by what happens outside of you. Your world is created inside your mind. If your thoughts are scattered, negative, reactive, then even the most ideal circumstances will feel hollow. Because wherever you go, your mind comes with you. A chaotic mind produces a chaotic life. You might believe the problem is your schedule, your relationships, or your lack of results. But often the root goes deeper. It's how you perceive your challenges, how you narrate your story, how you interpret what happens to you. The Stoic doesn't waste time trying to control everything. He trains his perspective. That is where true power begins. Training your mind is not a one-time fix. It's a daily practice. It's what you choose to focus on when things go wrong. It's how you speak to yourself when you feel discouraged, tired, or afraid. It's the thoughts you allow in, the ones you repeat, the beliefs you reinforce. Most people allow their minds to consume whatever shows up, negativity, noise, distraction, and then wonder why they feel anxious, unmotivated, or stuck. But your mind is like a muscle. It becomes what you train it to be. The Stoic trains his mind intentionally. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. That's not just a nice quote. It's instruction. You can choose patience instead of anger, an action instead of procrastination, focus instead of distraction. But like any skill, this takes effort. You must catch your thoughts in motion, not after the damage, but in the moment. You must pause, examine, and redirect again and again. And when you do this consistently, your outer world begins to shift, not because it changed, but because you did. The same stress, the same traffic, the same pressure. But now it meets a mind that is calm, resilient, and grounded. That's the secret of inner work. You're not escaping your problems. You're preparing yourself to meet them well. So many people try to fix their lives from the surface. They change their routines, their thoughts, their appearance, but none of it will last if the operating system remains the same. A new routine won't help if your mindset is built on fear. A new job won't satisfy if your thoughts are ruled by scarcity. Even the perfect opportunity will fall apart if your self-sabotage goes unaddressed. That's why Stoicism says to begin within. You shape your mind not through force, but through awareness, through reading, through writing, through reflection, through choosing moment by moment to respond with wisdom rather than impulse. This is the path of the inner craftsman, the person who sculpts their perception until it becomes an ally, not an enemy. You don't need to escape your life. You need to evolve your lens. Start there, shape your mind, and you'll no longer be ruled by external conditions. You'll become a source of clarity, not just for yourself, but for others. Because once your mind is stable, everything else becomes manageable. Stop the excuses, start the transformation. Excuses are subtle. They don't scream, they whisper. It's not the right time, I'm too tired. Maybe next week. They come disguised as logic, cloaked in realism, pretending to protect you from failure. But in truth, all they really protect is your comfort. And comfort, when left unchecked, becomes the enemy of growth. The Stoics were relentless when it came to excuses, not because they lacked compassion, but because they understood that every excuse, no matter how small, is a quiet surrender. It's a decision to remain the same when you had the opportunity to become something more. Character isn't built during moments of ease. It's forged in the exact moments when your mind hands you an escape route and you refuse to take it. When you choose action over delay, commitment over avoidance, ownership over blame. Every time you do that, you sharpen something essential inside you, your ability to trust yourself. But when you allow excuses to multiply, something else happens. You begin to shrink, not all at once, but slowly. Your standards drop, your confidence weakens. Eventually, you start to believe your own justifications. And that's where the real danger lives, not in failure, but in believing the lies your excuses keep repeating. Lies like you can't improve. It's too late to change. You're not like the people who succeed. These aren't facts, they're stories. And every time you tell them, they grow stronger until they become part of your identity. But the Stoic sees excuses for what they truly are: mental traps. And he doesn't negotiate with them. He confronts them, because once you start negotiating with weakness, it wins. It always finds a reason to delay, a reason to skip the workout, to break the habit, to avoid the difficult conversation. Real strength comes from refusal, from saying no. I do the work, even when it's inconvenient, especially when it's inconvenient. This doesn't mean becoming harsh or robotic. It means becoming honest. You stop lying to yourself. You stop pretending that your circumstances are the reason you're stuck. You begin asking the harder questions. What am I avoiding? What am I afraid of? Where am I giving myself an escape when I should be building a path forward? These questions are uncomfortable but necessary, because clarity is the cure for self-deception. When you eliminate excuses, something powerful happens. You reclaim your edge. You shift from being passive to being active, from a victim of your conditions to a creator of your conditions. You begin to see your life differently, not as something happening to you, but as something being built by you. The people who grow the most are rarely the ones with the best resources. They are the ones with the fewest excuses. They act while others wait. They move while others talk. And because of that, they evolve. Not because they had it easy, but because they refused to keep explaining why they couldn't. So starting now, catch your excuses in the moment. Don't give them space to grow. Replace "I can't" with "I choose not to." That language forces honesty, and honesty forces growth. The Stoic doesn't aim to feel better. He aims to be better. And that begins the moment you stop making excuses and start making moves. Every excuse you eliminate is one step closer to the person you were meant to become. 10. Become a student of your own life. There is no classroom more honest than your daily experience. No teacher more consistent than your habits. And no subject more important than learning to understand yourself. Yet most people move through life on autopilot. They react, they repeat, they forget. They blame the past escape into distractions and then wonder why they feel stuck. But the Stoic operates differently. He doesn't just study books, he studies behavior. He doesn't just think about philosophy, he lives it through action. Because he knows that wisdom isn't something you read once, it's something you practice every day. Becoming a student of your own life means observing your patterns not with judgment, but with curiosity. How do you respond to stress? What triggers your anxiety? When do you give up too early? What activities bring you alive? These aren't quirks, they're clues. And the more aware you are of them, the more power you gain over them. Awareness is the first step toward transformation. Because what you don't notice, you can't change. The Stoics practiced daily reflection. At the end of each day, they would ask, what did I do well? What did I do poorly? What will I do differently tomorrow? This simple habit turns your life into a living curriculum. You stop repeating unconscious patterns. You stop blaming everything else. You start learning from success, from failure, from discomfort, even from silence. This kind of self-study builds humility. You realize you're not above mistakes. You're not finished evolving. You're not entitled to comfort. Every error becomes a lesson. Every challenge becomes a mirror, showing you what still needs work. But here's the beauty: when you treat your life like a practice, you never really fail. You simply refine. This mindset changes how you see obstacles. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? You stop looking for rescue and you start looking for meaning, even in your hardest moments. The Stoic understands that pain is information. Resistance is a signal, and your response is your curriculum. Being a student also means being willing to unlearn, to question the assumptions you've carried for years, to realize not all of your thoughts are true, not all of your reactions are wise, not all of your beliefs serve you. You have to examine the foundation of your thinking. Where did this belief come from? Who gave me this standard? Does this story I keep telling myself make me stronger or keep me small? This isn't easy. It takes courage to see yourself clearly, to take full responsibility, to say, this is mine to fix, no one else. But that's where growth begins, not in blame, but in ownership, not in theory, but in practice. That's what separates the Stoic path from passive living. It demands engagement. It demands presence. It demands that you not just exist within your life, but learn from it. So today is start studying your life like it matters, because it does. Notice your thoughts, watch your habits, listen to your excuses, track your energy, use each experience as a lesson, each conflict as a test, each day as a page in the book of you, not for perfection, for refinement, for wisdom, for clarity. Because the more you learn from your own life, the more capable you become of shaping it. And in the end, the best students of life become its quiet masters, not by controlling everything, but by understanding themselves deeply. That's where power begins. The world will keep spinning. The noise will never stop. Distractions will always be one click away. But in the middle of all that chaos, there is one place where true strength is built within you. Not tomorrow, not next month, not when things settle down, now. Because growth doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It demands presence, intention, discipline. You don't need another motivational speech. You don't need someone to hand you a new life. You need to build it, brick by brick, habit by habit, thought by thought. The Stoic path doesn't offer ease. It offers direction. It offers clarity. It reminds you that your mindset, your behavior, and your standards are the tools that shape your future. You are your greatest project. No one is coming to save you. Discipline is your anchor. Progress, not perfection, is your mission. You won't always feel like doing the work. You won't always see quick results. But that's where transformation happens, in the quiet moments, when you keep showing up anyway. When you commit to being just a little better than you were yesterday, again and again. Let this be your turning point. No more waiting, no more hiding behind excuses, no more defining your worth by circumstances you can't control. Take what you've learned and live it, quietly, fiercely, consistently. Because in a world full of noise and distraction, the person who dares to build themselves from the inside out becomes unshakable. And that person can be you. If you want to grow in your current life, stop waiting for the perfect conditions and start paying attention to your patterns. Excuses will always sound reasonable in the moment. They'll tell you you're tired, you're not ready, or things will be easier later. But growth doesn't wait for convenience. It begins the moment you decide to show up for yourself, even in discomfort. Start by becoming a student of your own life. Watch your reactions, track your energy, and notice what triggers your self-doubt. Ask hard questions. Where am I holding myself back? What story am I believing that keeps me stuck? Most importantly, replace "I can't" with "I choose not to." That simple shift turns a passive excuse into an honest decision. Reflect daily, even briefly. What did you do well? Where can you improve? And how will you adjust tomorrow? The more you observe your own patterns, the more power you have to change them. Progress doesn't require perfection, just consistent effort. Every time you choose responsibility over blame, discipline over delay, and clarity over comfort, you build momentum. Over time, that momentum becomes self-trust, and self-trust becomes your foundation. Build yourself brick by brick, because no one else can do it for you.